Called today to the Provo Municipal Council Redevelopment Agency Governing Board and the Provo City Stormwater Service District meeting agenda. It is 5:31, Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. And we will have a roll call of the elected officials.
Craig Christensen,
Becky Bogdan,
George Handley,
Rachel Wiffle,
Catrice McKay.
Travis Hoban.
Gary Garrett.
And the mayor is excused today. She is in another important meeting. We will have an opening prayer today by Gary Garrett and then the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilor George Handley.
Our kind Father in heaven, we're grateful for the opportunity we have to gather this evening and discuss matters important to our city. We're grateful for the beauty we enjoy, for the community support and outreach, and to live in a place where we can enjoy freedom and beauty that surrounds us and have a good sense of community. We pray for thy blessings to be with us this evening, that we can conduct business in a way that is respectful and helpful in moving our city forward. These blessings we ask in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right now we will have a presentation of the citizens budget for 2025. And who's presenting that, Malia? Oh, you're here. I didn't see you. It is David Pyle, our council intern. I was expecting him up front. Come ahead, David.
Evening, councilors. My team and I have been working really hard on this budget over the past couple of weeks, and we hope that you and the people of Provo find it useful. So once you scroll past the title to the first page, you'll see a revenue summary from the fiscal year 2025 budget. It includes a total of revenues and transfers in for this fiscal year, about 307 million. It'll also give the three most significant sources of revenue from that budget: the utility services, fees, and sales tax. It also gives a breakdown of fees, taxes, and transfers, and explains the sources of each of those for anybody who may not know them: property taxes, inspection fees, etc. And then we also include a summary of those revenues and transfers in over the last 5 years. Down below that, we have the sales tax revenues also over the last 5 years. Once you go to the next page, you'll see a summary of expenses. And again, we have the three most significant. We have the enterprise fund, the general fund, and internal services funds. We also give a brief explanation of the six categories that the budget is split into, again, for those who might not be very familiar with the budgeting process. We then go a little more in depth into the general fund and its expenditures, about 87 million. And we give a breakdown for each of the categories that the general fund goes into, like police, fire, parks and rec, etc. Then we include the capital projects that the city is going to be working on for the next year, which totals to about 121 million, with Parks and Rec being the most significant. Then at the bottom of the page, we give a highlight for some of the more significant projects that the city is going to be working on this year. We have the ongoing replacement of Fire Station 1, which has been included in the budget for a couple of years now. We also have the construction of the new water treatment plant. We have some of the projects that Park and Rec is working on right now, such as the establishment of the Delta Gateway Park, the access enhancements at Rock Canyon Trailhead, and the construction of the Epic 100 Regional Sports Park. And then, of course, we have the installation of the West Side sewer lines to accommodate anticipated growth in the coming years. And as soon as my clicker starts working again, I'll tell you what's on the next page. Thank you. Here we thought it would be good to highlight some of the efficiency measures that have been taken in the city. Most of you probably already know that every year the different departments in the city may take measures to either increase revenues or to be able to operate at less expense than in previous years. So for example, we have the federal police vehicles grant that was awarded to our police department for the purchase of new patrol vehicles. We also have the cybersecurity measures that were taken by the cybersecurity department, which reduced phishing emails over the month from 63 cases down to 1. We have the airport, which cross-trained 7 of its staff members in air rescue and firefighting, which reduced the need for firefighter personnel in the airport. We have the library, which installed an outdoor canopy to mitigate the need to rent a canopy for its outdoor reading activities over the summer. And then finally, we have the cemetery, which began using mulching blades while mowing its lawn, which allowed those grass clippings to be repurposed as fertilizer for the lawn, to reduce the need to purchase fertilizer from an outside source. And then on the final page, of course, we have the contacts for you, the council members, as well as the mayor, and an explanation of city council meetings and how that all works. And of course, we included links to the tentative budget and the capital project plan for the fiscal year 2025. And if anybody has any questions about the citizens' budget, I'd be glad to answer them.
Anyone have questions for David?
Looks great.
Counselor Christensen?
Just gonna say
No,
looks great.
good. Okay,
Yeah, good
thanks.
job. Was this your first presentation for us? I can't remember.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Good job, David.
Did you bring anybody to watch you?
I did. I have my mom and sister who are visiting from out of town.
Oh,
and
nice. Good
also my girlfriend
timing.
back there.
Awesome.
That's
Good
why you're on the
job.
back row.
Yeah, really nice work. I'm
Thanks,
wondering
David.
if he's available to do my Kiwanis Club presentation tomorrow. I'll check with him after.
Okay. Thanks, David. And for anyone listening, the citizens agenda is available online and you can email any of us in the council if you want to get a copy of it. I think it is a really handy thing and much easier than reading the whole budget. All right. As indicated on the screen, a required public hearing will be held for certain agenda items prior to council action. After each such item has been presented, time to comment will be provided for all those who wish to speak. For items that do not require a public hearing, public comment will be taken following presentation of the item, but will be limited to 10 minutes. At this time, up to 15 minutes have been set aside for an open public comment period, which is intended to allow comment on matters that do not appear on the agenda, but are limited to topics regarding municipal business or within council purview. Persons who speak during this time to an item on the agenda will not normally be afforded a second opportunity to speak during the comment period specific to that item. During any public comment period, each speaker will generally be limited to 2 minutes. Due to noticing requirements, no formal action will be taken in this meeting on matters that do not appear on the agenda. Those with comments are invited to approach the podium. Those participating on Zoom will need to use the raise hand feature to indicate they wish to comment. The chair may choose to alternate between in-person and online commenters. Please begin your comments by stating your name and your city of residence. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. So if we have anyone that's here for public comment, please feel free to come up.
Hi, my name is Donna Smith. I'm in zip code 84601 and I live on 3080 West. Recently, May 15th, a few of us got a letter about the annexation of land around our area, and it was very vague. And so I called the surveyor and spoke to him, and he really didn't give me much more help other than that my property and my neighbor's property on that side of the street wouldn't be affected. So I thought, no problem. Just the city trying to do its work. But it turns out that the annexation is in line with the Provo City's council report on January 23rd this year about a resolution accepting an annexation petition for about 15.7 acres of land along Lakeview Parkway. If this approach is pursued, the proposal would convey property to the Provo Housing Authority for a housing project. So nothing that he said was like about this, and we didn't receive any of that in the 2-page letter. Updated information reports the plan is to build 74 house or townhomes on 12 acres of land. Now, this is the area right across from Provo High School to the south and east. So, first of all, I feel like we should be notified of something like this being thought about by Provo City. That would have been nice. And then the high school already needs more parking space. And this land would work fine for a parking lot, but not housing. The school also.
Okay, have you emailed us? I think. Yes, okay, I
So-
think I responded to you today. But oh, you said something I wanted to. Oh, Catrice McKay. But Donna, why don't you follow up with our staff? Because we do neighborhood meetings where this is talked about in great detail, and the neighborhood gets to vote on whether they like the idea or not like the idea, and they get to give opinions on what they'd like to see or have their questions answered. So let's get you set up with Malia over there, and she can get your email on that and make sure that you're aware of those neighborhood meetings and that you can attend. Okay, thank you so much. And feel free, you've already, yeah, you sent that in your email. That was really interesting. None of us had seen that before. So I did respond to you. So look at your email when you get home and, okay, thanks.
Hello, my name is Dave Schallenberger. I wanted to come down and introduce myself and say hello to the Provo City Council. I actually live just on the Orem side of the border. I am running for House District 58 for the House of Representatives, and ballots have gone out today. We got ours in the mail today, but I wanted to come and officially introduce myself to the Provo City Council. If I'm lucky enough to win my race, fingers crossed, knock on wood. I'm excited to work closely with you guys, with the Provo City Council, to be a good representative at the state level and be a champion for Provo's interests and your interest in the people here in Provo. So
Thanks, David.
that's it. Just wanted
We
to-
respect anyone who runs and we know how much work it is.
Yeah, so I've interrupted. It was 5:30, so I've been out putting up signs, talking to people. I was like, I gotta get to Provo City Council. So now back to putting out signs and
Well,
talking to
thanks
people.
for thinking about us.
So thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Good luck, David. Any other public comment?
Hi, my name is Melanie Davies, and I also live in Provo, and I actually just wanted to share a couple concerns about about the housing project you guys are looking at, and I want to share them here because you guys are the ones voting on it. So she mentioned about the traffic, so we live close by, and we know how crazy the traffic gets there. And one of the biggest concerns is I walk my kids to school right there, and almost every month I watch somebody almost get hit. And I know my neighbors have had several close calls, and my neighbors have had the same issues, and we're adding more to that, especially since there aren't a lot of services on the west side, which you guys know. Everybody there has to commute, so we're adding a lot of traffic. Then my second major concern is when the high school was built, the water table there is really high. So they bring in a ton of dirt and they pound it down. And several of the homes in the area had damage done to their home because of this. So now we're talking about doing that right behind my house. And I'm a little concerned that that is gonna affect our house and our property, the high school and the road that is, and our property. So the land we're looking at is in between. There's probably a 3 to 5 foot difference in height. So obviously that's probably gonna have to be fixed. And right, I don't know how they're gonna do that, but when they did it with the high school, it caused a lot of issues. And then also, you know, when, with rain and flood waters, which is kind of a concern in that area because there's a lot of wetlands. Now everything's gonna be draining into our homes and our properties. I just think there's a lot that doesn't seem like it has been considered, and we have been reaching out and asking questions and not getting a lot of answers. So, yeah, I just hope that you guys will look into that and maybe ask some of these questions before you decide on your vote.
Thank you. Have you emailed us yet? Okay, great. If I haven't responded, I will respond, and I'm sure some of my counselors will too. But if you have specific questions in there, I'll make sure to address them and we can follow up and go back and forth. Okay, thank you. All right, any other public comment? All right. Our first action item, first I'd like to recognize that Mayor Michelle Kafusi has joined us. A resolution attesting to the review of the Municipal Wastewater Planning Program Survey 2024 in accordance with the Utah Pollutant Discharge Elimination System Permit. You get the best ones, Dave.
I know.
So we've talked about this in the past, so we're here to, now do we have to vote? We have to vote on this, right? Don't you want us
Correct.
voting on it?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right.
So you introduced it well, here to present on seeking a resolution to meeting the requirements from the state of Utah for Utah Sanitary Survey and our management program. We completed the survey early. It's due by April 15th. We completed it a month early. And so we're seeking a resolution to adopt approving the survey that we completed for calendar year 2023. Just a quick update on what the survey covers. It's a self-evaluation of our financial system in the wastewater program, where it covers, general operating funds, capital improvement funds, et cetera, capital improvement projects. It also covers, our survey covers the collection system, where we describe the system, the age of it, the condition of it, if we've had any significant overflows, and we're trying to prevent those. And it's great to report that we did not have any of those. Last year, we'll have some to report this year, but which is unfortunate, but the survey helps us assess that and manage the system. It also covers the wastewater treatment plant, where we assess our flows that are coming into the plant, what our capacity is, both in hydraulic as well as the load that we receive and where we're at in that. It covers handling of our biosolids and how those are disposed of, and whatnot. So the purpose for coming is to seek a resolution to approve the self-assessment survey. Any questions? I'll take any questions.
Any questions for David? Counselor Christensen.
And now may not be the right time. I just had a question. In the survey, it talked about, has repair and replacement sinking fund been established? Are property taxes or other assessments supplied to the sewer system? Are projected revenues sufficient for repair? All the questions were no. Can you just talk a little bit about, just address that, because that's seems like a concern.
That is, and as we've gone through the budget discussions, I think that has been a question that has been addressed. And as we look at projecting what based on the master plans that have been prepared and the needs of the projects that are projected over the next several years, 20-year outlook, looking at the projected rates and fund balances for those projects, they fall short.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions?
All right. I enjoyed the survey a lot. I
Well,
thought it
thank
was
you.
really fun.
Great.
All right. Any council discussion?
I will just add that Catrice enjoyed the survey so much. She texted me about it. She's like, you're going to have so much fun reading this. And she was right. I did.
It is interesting, and you're welcome to come participate when we do it next year.
Whenever we're not on the council, we might come to Public Works.
Okay, all right.
Well, actually, it is very helpful and it actually created a lot of confidence on my part. So it was very helpful to go through. Is this a publicly accessible document?
It is, yes.
Thank you.
All right, we'll call for a vote on the implied motion. Counselor Bogdan,
Yes.
Counselor Christensen,
Yes.
Counselor Garrett,
Yes.
Counselor Handley,
Yes.
Counselor Hoban,
Yes.
Counselor McKay, yes, and Counselor Whipple.
Yes.
Thanks, David.
All right, thank you.
Next, an ordinance adjusting the common boundary between Provo and Orem along 2000 South and Orem. And just for the public's sake, we've done all this already. We just didn't quite finish things in the right process, so we have to redo it to do it correctly by the state statute. So Jessica Denique will present this to us quickly.
Chair McKay, sorry to interrupt. Just to make it even more quick, if you'd like to
Oh,
read in items 4 and
yes, I do.
5, she can
Yes,
address
I
her
do.
comments to all 3 of them at the same time. You'll just need to vote separately.
Great. Also an ordinance adjusting the common boundary between Provo and Orem to accommodate a new residential development. That's not it. Yes, it is. Near the intersection of University Avenue in Provo and 800 North in Orem. Also, another ordinance concurring with Utah County on the common boundary between Provo and Orem near the intersection of 1030 East in Orem and 2250 North in Provo.
Okay, thank you, counselors. Like you mentioned, all of this has been passed before. There are no changes to the boundary lines. We just need new ordinances so we can get these boundary lines certified with the state. Do you have any additional questions?
Any questions for Jessica? I don't think so. So we'll go through and vote each one individually. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes. Any public comment on any of these items? All right, seeing no public comment, we'll go to council discussion. Any discussion on these items? All right, we'll go to the vote. So first of all, we will vote on action item number 3, an ordinance adjusting the common boundary between Provo and Orem along 2000 South in Orem. Counselor Christensen,
Yes.
Counselor Garrett,
Yes.
Counselor Handley,
Yes.
Counselor Hoban,
Yes.
Counselor McKay, yes, Counselor Whipple,
Yes.
and Counselor Bogdan.
Yes.
Next, we're going to vote on action.
Announce that.
That's unanimous, 7-0. Next, we will vote on action item number 4. Counselor Garrett,
Yes.
Counselor Handley,
Yes.
Counselor Hoban,
Yes.
Counselor McKay, yes, Counselor Whipple,
Yes.
Counselor Bogdan,
Yes.
and Counselor Christensen.
Yes.
And that is unanimous, 7-0. Next, we will vote on action item number 5. Counselor Handley,
Yes.
Counselor Hoban,
Yes.
Counselor McKay, yes, Counselor Whipple,
Yes.
Counselor Bogdan,
Yes.
Counselor Christensen,
Yes.
Counselor Garrett,
Yes.
and that's unanimous also, 7-0. Thank you, Jessica. Okay, next we have an ordinance amending the zone map classification of real property located at 2662 West Lakeview Parkway from open space preservation and recreation zone to the community shopping center zone. And this will be presented by Keith Morey, the Development Services Assistant Director. Just making a grand entrance for us, Keith. We're on a mission.
Sorry about that. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you guys tonight, ladies, gentlemen. I wanted to just kind of set the stage for this, and this is probably the best map to do that on. Provo City, as you know, tries to be sophisticated about how we address our revenue stream, the diversification of our tax base. And because we're what I would consider a little bit disadvantaged, because 52% of the property in Provo doesn't pay taxes, it just means we have to be artful about how we evaluate that and the opportunities that we create for ourselves. So when I started here in 2020, Scott Henderson, who is the director of the Parks and Rec Department at that time, pulled me aside with Doug Robbins, who's now the Parks and Rec Director, and said, look, we're working on this regional sports complex concept. And we think it's more than just a sports park. We think that it has an economic impact as well. And so we talked about that a little bit. And Scott said, I just don't feel like we should be talking about this alone. I think we should be talking about it together. And I said, I agree 100%. And one of the things that we began to anticipate right from the beginning was the demand that it was going to create for commercial opportunities in and around the regional sports complex. So there's been a lot of discussion about the park itself, and we could talk some about that, but I want to be clear for the city council and for the public that the corner triangle piece at the southwest corner of the regional sports complex was always anticipated to be a contributor to the sports complex. It was anticipated to be a commercial opportunity that could generate traffic and provide services for the regional sports park. Why is all that important? Well, as a municipality evaluates how they balance out and manage a budget, it becomes important to make sure that you have revenue streams that are consistent or that you're accommodating for potential fluctuations. One of the things that the regional sports complex does and the commercial opportunities around it is it gives us an additional tax base that isn't dependent necessarily on retail sales or property tax increases. It's tourism dollars that could potentially come into Provo. And we're anticipating from the studies that we've done that somewhere around $30 million to $40 million annually in regional impact to the local economy will be reflected from the sports complex. We anticipate that there's going to be a large demand from the people that use that for services like gas, snacks, drinks, things of that sort as they attend those events. So trying to find a way to locate facilities that provide for their needs proximate to the regional sports complex are important. They're important because as artful as I think our gold standard Parks Department has been in the design of this project, anticipating how traffic will flow in and around it, how people will use it is equally important. And the sports complex anticipates that having commercial opportunities next to them so that patrons of the facility don't have to travel through the neighborhoods to get the services that they need is important, because we want to reduce the impacts that are there as much as we possibly can. So to come back, just to restate some of this, I mean, we're anticipating that the park itself will generate somewhere around 78,000 visitors, somewhere around 1,000 hotel room nights per event, potentially from that facility. We think that the regional sports complex and this commercial corner also complement the nearly $3.3 million annual visitors that we're going to have coming in and out of the Provo airport. And we think those elements kind of create this nexus opportunity. One of the things that you need to think about when you look at this map, this is the future land use map for the west side of Provo. And we anticipated long ago in conversations with the community and with the residents in this area and the rest of Provo that there would be areas where we would need mixed use centers. And so those kind of blobs that you see on the map were designed to reflect that, but we didn't presume to know exactly where they would be, but just to kind of assume that in some areas out there, we would need to be those. This commercial corner that's closer to the airport is the first one that's really kind of blossoming as an opportunity that we're trying to capitalize on, because we think that both the airport and the regional sports park demand it. And if you see the kind of white diagonal hatch lines on the map as well, that's the airport overlay zone or airport overlay, which anticipated the types of uses like this that would make sense in close proximity to the airport. The commercial area that we're talking about, that corner piece down there, was also not included in the overall water conservation plan for the park, which is just kind of a reflection and to make clear that we all understand that it was never really anticipated that that piece would be part of the regional sports complex. It was always intended to be its own separate entity. The other thing that's important to understand, and I think this is another example of how thoughtful our Parks and Recreation Department was, their assumption was that the long-term ongoing operation and maintenance of this facility would be a critical budget component going into the future. And anticipating, is there a way to possibly use this commercial piece of property to contribute to that is important. Now, we haven't finalized a deal on that piece of property, so depending on how that works out, we're not exactly sure what that looks like or what the terms will be, but it's just important to understand that's the kind of group that we're dealing with when we talk about our Parks Department, that they're thinking ahead. How do we create opportunities that will minimize the impacts to the city budget and allow this facility to be productive and beneficial and a long-term contributor to our budget? I don't know if you have any other questions, but maybe just talking a little bit about some of the things we did to mitigate traffic impacts. And so that the public understands that the addressing for the regional sports complex was done on the very south end up against Lakeview Parkway. So anybody navigating from within or around the sports complex and is pulling up their GIS or their Google Maps or whatever will be directed to the sports complex on Lakeview Parkway, not off of Center Street through neighborhoods. So we try to anticipate that so that people will be directed on the south end to reduce traffic flow. All the freeway directional signage we're working with you to on will direct them to exit off of I-15 onto Lakeview Parkway instead of Center Street. Traffic from the park and the commercial property will be directed to Lakeview Parkway. We're not allowing any parking, so no parking will be permitted on any of the exterior roads. So Epic Lane, Championship Drive, all those roads that surround the regional sports complex will be designated as no parking areas to force or to push the parking interior to the park. So, I mean, it's if you're a parent that has a child participating in a soccer game, and I've been to some of those in areas where parking isn't designed very well, you're trying to find adjacent roads to park on that are close to the field because I don't want to have to walk half a mile to get to my field, right? I think that if you look at the design of the park, it was designed very intentionally to try to solve for that problem internally so that people don't have to park on exterior roads to get close to the soccer fields. And if they were to try to, we'll be noticing those so that that it's not allowed. No parking is permitted. 2 traffic signals were installed on the south end of the sports complex as well to try to kind of manage traffic flow. So I don't know, that's really kind of what I wanted to present. We're in discussions right now with a potential developer that thinks that they can bring retail opportunities to that pad. I think the opportunities are bigger than what the sports complex is going to demand because they're also part of the future of the airport design as well. So they're not just looking at that 5-acre triangle, they're looking at other property around it and potentially maybe even the BYU property next to that. Those conversations are just early stages, but the triangular piece that the city owns right here that we're talking about, they're very actively engaged in that conversation and doing the market analysis right now to determine what can be built there. So I think that's all I have unless you have questions for me.
Thanks, Keith. Any questions for Keith? Councilor Bogdan.
Keith, can you address why the city wants this done now instead of wait and see about the parking? Because that's a lot of what I'm hearing from constituents.
So, well, I mean, let me talk about the parking for the regional sports complex. We were very careful. The national standard for parking for soccer fields is about 70 parking stalls per soccer field. The facility currently is designed so that we have somewhere between 81 and 86 per soccer field. So we have potentially close to 200, 250 additional parking stalls above what the national standard would suggest that we need. There are locations within the park that should we determine that we needed more, where we could claw back maybe another couple of dozen parking spots in strategic locations. And so we think the current facility is already overparked. And we think that there's the ability to accommodate whatever parking is needed or future bus traffic or whatever within the facility on its own. That particular 5 acres is not necessarily a good location for additional parking. It was never intended to be additional parking. And my concern personally as an economic development director is we're trying to create an opportunity to reduce traffic flow into neighborhoods. If you don't build it here, people are going to go north to Center Street to try to find a drink or gas or chips or whatever they need for their soccer game. So it's important that this is here to reduce that because it forces people to come look for the services that they need south along Lakeview Parkway instead of going north into the neighborhoods.
You also address what we talked about in work meeting, that piece to the north, how much of a buffer there is between the existing neighborhood and the actual sports park. So people wouldn't actually walk
Yeah,
if they're
exactly.
parked in front of
Right.
Durant's all the way
That's
down.
privately owned. As we determined earlier, it's about 900 feet between that and the
About 900.
road above it. So it's really not proximate enough. Someone would park there and try to get to the park through that access.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's private property. So
All right. Any more questions for Keith? Counselor Whipple?
So I'm really excited for this park to come online. Do you have any sense of how the timeline with the park going online could go with the timeline of this property getting developed?
yeah, I mean, there's always a little bit of a chicken and the egg. Frankly, from my perspective, if I could make all my dreams come true, you would be building these so that they would be opening at the same time, right? But commercial developers always need a justification for their investment, right? They're looking for the draw. It's one of the issues that we've had in trying to find other retail tenants in certain locations is where the rooftops. And if you don't have the rooftops, they don't want to come and get the rooftops. I mean, it's kind of a chicken and the egg. This is the same way. I think they're a little bit behind and they recognize that too, but they're also guessing a little bit because we're building a facility that hasn't been used. I mean, Parks and Rec doesn't necessarily have a tournament scheduled, for example, that would be the driver. I think they're getting close and they'll have play on it towards the end of this year. But I think it will help to have that a little bit active and there be a little bit ongoing while they're securing their tenants and actually getting the deal put together. But yeah, I wish they were opening at the same time. That would be wonderful.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Keith.
Yeah.
We would like to open up this item now for public comment. If there's any public comment, you are welcome to come up.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Lamitz, and I am part of the Provo Bay Neighborhood, and I currently serve on the neighborhood board. So we did an informal poll that I sent you guys via email, and I think residents are in favor of the park. We're excited, and we aren't opposed to the change. And I appreciate what Keith addressed with some of the reasons why, but I think what we see is sometimes it doesn't always mesh up with planning and what comes in actuality. I know like with Amelia Earhart Elementary, they have this overflow parking like nestled back, not planned very well in proximity to the elementary. And what happens when there's like events at the school is people park in the church parking lot, people park in the neighborhood adjacent to it, and because it's the shortest distance. So I think people's fear, we have been concerned as a neighborhood about the collector streets. I built my home there, like in the new development right adjacent to the neighborhood, and our developer was not allowed to put in we picked our lot specifically so that we could have a driveway facing the street. But on 2470 West, you had to pour a lot of extra concrete in order to accommodate because they knew that was going to be a collector street. So what that tells me is even though we've gone forward with the park, the Provo City was a little bit concerned about the traffic coming into the neighborhood. And we've tried to preempt that with like working together for a neighborhood grant to put in a radar speed sign that Vern has been kind of slow to get me the results on that study with, even though we did our end of it before that happened. So I think what everybody wants to see is just like, let's see the park open, let's get some games there and see if what we planned is really like what's coming into fruition. And so
You did email us, so we did get that. If you want to add more, feel free to email us again. Okay, thank you. Did she get 3 minutes because she was the neighborhood? You have another minute if you want.
okay, so basically we're for the park, but we just want to see it open before we make the changes. to ensure that parking isn't happening in our street. We heard that I do like that buffer, the 900 feet. That was like consoling. But we didn't hear anything about like no parking signs in the neighborhood, only on the streets within the park. And so that would be great. And I think
Is
that would be a
parking
great
allowed in your
compromise.
neighborhood now?
It is allowed in the neighborhood
Okay.
now. But on those collector streets, perhaps if there was some no parking signs, when I think people in the neighborhood would be happy. If,
Oh, well, there will be no parking signs on the streets where they can't park, right, Keith, on the perimeter of the park?
like 2470 and 600 South
Okay.
into the neighborhoods.
But there's parking allowed there, right?
There's parking allowed
Okay,
currently.
so you're saying you'd like it to be no parking streets?
I think that might assuage some of the fears that people.
Okay, that is an interesting idea. And that's something that I would definitely communicate through your neighborhood program if you're interested in that. All right, any more public comment?
Hi, my name is Abby Owens. I am actually previously worked for Provo Parks and Recreation, but now I am with Explore Utah Valley as their destination sales manager for the sports market. I've been in the position for about 3 months now, and actually I've already started multiple very serious conversations with these tournament groups that are going to come in. And Keith kind of hit it right on the head. He did ask me and Lee, who is my executive director, to be in attendance today as support, just to kind of show support. But Keith pretty much stated exactly what I'm hearing as well from these clients of mine that are seriously debating coming and booking already at the Epic Sports Park. Provo City Parks and Recreation has done a phenomenal job of designing the field to be structurally profound. The statement of 70 average parking spots per field is accurate. One of the biggest groups that I am currently working with is about 6,750 spectators that is going to be coming to the park, and they only demanded 75 spots per field, and that is the largest group that I have seen on the books right now. The biggest thing though that I do want to add for support is additional services of where are the closest restaurants, where are the closest convenience stores and gas stations available, because that is going to be the biggest demand. Yes, people want to park. Yes, people are going to be shuttling in and out of the fields, but that is what they'll be doing, is shuttling in and out, not parking, because they'll drop off their kids. They don't necessarily want to sit all day there. They want to go out and spend their money in our community, which is a lot of the draw for this sports park. So I'm very excited to continue to support the design and getting things booked, obviously, to bring in all of this business and wonderful opportunity there. But I feel that Provo Parks and Recreation has done an incredibly adequate job to prepare for this. So we should be just fine.
Thank you. What city do you live in?
I live in Payson currently, but
Okay.
I was in Provo when
Thank
I
you.
lived here.
Yeah, I just have to keep it for the record.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
sure. Thank you.
Chair McKay, can we ask a question of Abby since she's
Sure.
with Utah County Convention? The inquiries you're receiving are just on behalf of soccer tournaments, or are you getting any interest in pickleball as well, since there'll be the 45 pickleball courts there?
Yes, so I actually had multiple conversations and have developed great relationships with the Professional Pickleball Association, which is one of the biggest pickleball groups that exists right now in the community. They are very excited for the sports park, pending obviously what gets built out at full built out, and they are interested in providing an opening tournament at our community. As soon as I told them 45 pickleball courts were tentatively happening at the park, they were thrilled as can be. So pickleball is definitely interested, USA Pickleball as well, and a couple other groups. I believe the National Collegiate Pickleball Association is also planning to come out to visit the park here this summer to just check out the area. So lots of good business.
But right now the pickleball is not funded.
Not fully.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right. Any more public comment? Okay, council discussion. Any discussion on this motion? All right, we will. Oh, Counselor Bogdan.
I just want to make a quick comment. This was Tiffany's first time of presenting in front of council, so she did a good job. But also, people do push back quite a bit when you start taking away parking from their street. We all know firsthand. That's something I would definitely bring back to your neighborhood and have them be really solid on before you bring it back to us. And especially present that 900-foot buffer and the no parking anywhere on the street around it. And I think they'll be a lot better. Thanks.
All right, we'll take a vote on the implied motion. Counselor Hoban.
Yes.
Counselor McKay, yes. Counselor Whipple.
Yes.
Counselor Bogdan.
Yes.
Counselor Christensen.
Yes.
Counselor Garrett.
Yes.
And Counselor Handley.
Yes.
And that passes 7-0. Next, an ordinance amending the zone map classification of property located at 1098 North Geneva Road from the agricultural zone to one-family residential with transferable development rights receiving overlay. And this will be presented by Nancy Robinson.
Hello. So David Pitcher is requesting approval of a rezone to create a 38 lot subdivision at this time, adjacent to Geneva Road at approximately 1098 North. The current zone is agricultural A15, that shows it in this. The applicant would not like to restrict the area to 38 lots, but to have the ability to create possibly another 10 lots in the future. They have pursued the transfer of development rights from the east side. The developers have 2 lots under contract in the sending zone, and this would allow, this is the general plan, but this is what they had proposed at first. But by getting the transfer of development rights, this would allow the Buchers, one of the property owners, to have the ability to develop their property in the future if they desire. And it would also be creating future road connections. Engineering has stated that these additional lots would not exceed our 4 unit per acre with the gross calculation, and additionally that there would not be a problem with sewer capacity with these additional lots. This was presented at the Planning Commission on May 22nd, and with a vote of 7-0, they recommended approval. So do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for Nancy? Thanks, Nancy. We'll now open this item up for public comment. Okay, seeing no public comment, we'll move to council discussion. Any discussion on this item? Counselor Bogdan.
Thank you, Nancy and Bill, for making this happen. I see the Buchers in the back, so they must be happy with it. If they're happy with it, that's a good thing. Thanks.
All right, we will go to a vote on the implied motion. Counselor McKay, yes. Counselor Whipple.
Yes.
Counselor Bogdan.
Yes.
Counselor Christensen.
Yes.
Counselor Garrett.
Yes.
Counselor Handley.
Yes.
Counselor Hoban.
Yes.
And that passes 7-0. All right, next we have an ordinance amending the zone map classification of certain properties in the Oak Hills, Indian Hills, and Sherwood Hills neighborhoods to add the transfer of development rights sending. Okay, this will be presented by Aaron Ardmore.
Okay, thank you, Council. Okay, the first thing I wanted to address is we had a question today during study meeting from Councilor Hanley on some of these specific properties on the middle map. Right there. I did do some research on that. You're right. It is the growth, Stephen Grow owned properties. Those are actually in the A1 zone and we're under a greenbelt tax. That's the information I learned as you directed me to research that. I think the main concern that you might have had, correct me if I'm wrong, is that they weren't listed on that page 1 of the staff report. The parcel numbers or addresses weren't listed there. My only guess on that, as I looked into the case file, is we've never had, I've never had an application in our software with this many properties listed. So the only thing I can think of is that it cut it off after a certain number of numbers. So they are included. They're included in the Exhibit A. They would be included in the zone change if it was approved by the council tonight. But that's most likely the reason that it's not on that front page is it can only fit so many characters. This request is coming from Development Services as a follow-up to the ordinance, chapter 1433B that was passed earlier this year. That ordinance gives the ability to have these properties that have been identified as hazardous on East Bench. It gives the opportunity to the property owners to sell the development rights off of those if they've experienced issues, whether that's too expensive to build or too expensive to get the studies to know if they can build, or if they just keep changing hands. These are things that we don't want as a city. So we kind of modeled this after some other cities around us. Mapleton, Park City have TDR ordinances, and they seem to be working pretty well. So we've developed this and have identified these initial 66 properties as high risk or extreme risk. So they would have the ability to go through the process to get a certificate from our department to send the development rights, whether that's 2 or 3 dwelling units, to send those to sell those to developers elsewhere in the city. At the end of that process, a conservation easement would be placed on those properties so development cannot occur, and hopefully it just makes it safer for everybody. See if there's anything else I want. I wanted to reiterate, zoning the overlay on these properties does not by any way force the owners to sell the development rights. They can keep those, they can retain them, they could invest a lot of money and try to build on those lots still. That's still within their rights because they're subdivided lots in zones that would allow a single family home. But we are hopeful that this gives them an out to get the value from the property while preserving the hillside, making sure that homes are built on safe properties and still getting those dwelling units within the city, just elsewhere in the city. And I believe that's all I have, unless there are additional questions.
Thanks, Aaron. Any questions for Aaron? Okay, we'd like to open this item up for public comment. Okay, seeing no public comment, we'll go to council discussion. Is there any discussion on this item? All right, we will do council vote. Councilor Whipple.
Yes.
Councilor Bogdan.
Yes.
Councilor Christensen.
Yes.
Councilor Garrett.
Yes.
Councilor Handley.
Yes.
Councilor Hoban.
Yes.
And Councilor McKay. Yes, that's 7-0 for the ordinance. Next, a resolution approving the 5-year annual action plan related to Utah Valley Home Consortium and CDBG funding. This will be presented by Melissa McNally.
Thank you. Good evening. So tonight I would just like to bring, we'll just skip through the slides and show what the actual award amounts that we are asking council to vote on and the public to comment on for our 5th-year annual action plan. And so in the bottom left corner, we have our recommended public service funding. And here are our capital projects and our home consortium funding amounts. They all have been adjusted based on the actual award amounts that Provo City and the Utah Valley Home Consortium received from HUD. And I am happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
All right. Are there any council questions? Okay, I think we don't have questions on this one. Thank you. All right, we will now open this item for public hearing. All right, seeing no public comment, we will open this for council discussion. Yes, Councilor Christensen.
Please express gratitude to, I know, dozens of neighbors and citizens put a lot of work into this, and we're grateful for their contribution.
Yes, thank you so much, Melissa, for all of your work on this. And I think it would be appropriate to convey our thanks. Some of us have been able to sit in on those meetings where they hear the presentations and go through that exercise of ranking them with their metrics. And it is a lot of time and effort, and we really do appreciate it. All right, seeing no further council discussion, we will go ahead and have a vote on the implied motion. Councillor Bogdan.
Yes.
Councillor Christensen.
Yes.
Councillor Garrett.
Yes.
Councillor Handley.
Yes.
Councillor Hoban.
Yes.
Councillor McKay is excused. Councillor Whipple is yes. That vote is 6-0, unanimous. We'll now go on to item number 10, a public hearing regarding the fiscal year 2024-2025 Provo City Budget. This will be presented by Kelsey Zarbuck, our budget officer.
Good evening. This is the first of two public hearings for the city's fiscal year 2024-2025 budget. The budget was presented to the council on May 14th and there's been lots of discussions about the budget and work meetings prior to that presentation as well. The public has been able to access the budget if they go to provo.org and then click on departments, and then finance, financial reports, and then budget reports. Oh, thanks for just pulling it right up. So if you go up to the top and click on departments, and then click on finance, financial reports, and then budget reports on the right side, then you can click on the 2025 tentative city budget to be able to access the budget and read through it. Again, this is an opportunity for the public to comment on it. There's no council action that's required tonight. And there will be another public hearing on Tuesday, June 18th as well. Any questions?
Thanks, Kelsey. Doesn't look like there's anyone here for comment, but any questions from the council? All right, we'll open this item up for public comment. All right. Well, there's no vote, so thank you, Kelsey. And you get to come again, right? Okay, right now, if there's no objection, we are now going to adjourn the Provo Municipal Council meeting and reconvene as the Provo City Stormwater Service District by unanimous consent. So now we're going to do the public hearing of the fiscal year 2024-25 Stormwater Service District budget, also by Kelsey Zarbuck.
Thank you. This is basically the same situation as the city budget, except it's for the Stormwater Service District. The Stormwater Service District's budget is in the tentative budget document. If you scroll to the end, there's an appendix, and then the Stormwater Service District budget is listed there. Yeah, on page 141. Again, it was presented on May 14th in the council meeting as the tentative budget for stormwater, and then there will be another public hearing on it on June 18th. Any questions?
Any questions for Kelsey? No, thank you. We will open this item up for public comment. All right. If there's no objection, we will now adjourn the Provo City Stormwater Service District meeting and convene as the governing board of the Redevelopment Agency of Provo by unanimous consent.
All right, redevelopment agency business. This is item number 12, a public hearing regarding the fiscal year 2024-2025 Provo City Redevelopment Agency budget. This also will be presented by Kelsey Zarbuck, our budget officer.
This is the last one. This is the public hearing for the redevelopment agency. It was presented as tentative budget on June 14th. And there will be a second public hearing opportunity on June 18th. And again, this screen that Malia has pulled up here, this is one of the last pages in the budget book, the city tentative budget book that the public can access. Any questions?
I see no council questions for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelsey. We will now open this item for a public hearing. The public hears nothing. All right. We will now open this item for, I guess not council discussion, but board member discussions. No discussion. All right. Okay, so we don't need to do a vote on this because this was just a public hearing. So we are now done. If there's no objection, we will now adjourn the, get on the right page, the governing board of the Redevelopment Agency of Provo meeting by unanimous consent.
Recording stopped.